Hi, Vince Oldry, Certified Financial Planner, and I want to talk to you about a question that a lot of people have, and that is, should you roll over your 401k to an IRA or to another institution? And the answer is not always a yes, and it's not always a no. You really do have to figure out what makes sense for your overall retirement plan. But I'll give you some pros and I'll give you some cons to moving a 401k to an IRA. And one of those pros is that you will have more options outside of your 401k. The options that you have are pretty limiting when it comes to your 401k. Some will only have 10 options, some will have 30, some will even have 300 different options when it comes to what you have available in your 401k. When you go outside of your 401k, you're going to have well over thousands of different options. But also, you can create your retirement plan around those options. Whereas in a 401k, it's harder to create your retirement plan to coordinate with your retirement plan, because what they're doing with the 401k plan is they're covering the masses. They're not making sure it's an individualized plan just for you. One of the cons to moving a 401k to an IRA is that the fees could be higher than you would have at your 401k. Sometimes they're lower, but more often than not they're higher. And that's just something that you have to be aware of. But also, what I always tell people is making sure that you're getting everything out of those extra fees. Meaning, make sure you're getting the right advice and make sure that whatever you're using is coordinating with your plan. It doesn't make sense to move from one mutual fund that's pretty much the same mutual fund to another mutual fund where you're going to be paying the same amount of fees, otherwise, or getting the same type of plan, but also now you're going to pay more fees outside of the 401k. Whereas the 401k mutual funds are going to be typically cheaper. One of the pros to moving money from a 401k to an IRA is you can also convert that money to a Roth IRA. And what we're doing there is we're trying to create more tax efficient money down the road with Roth IRAs, which means that the Roth money is going to grow tax free, and when I take it out, it will be tax free. One of the cons to moving money from a 401k to an IRA is that I'm going to give up the rule of 55. So if you have a retirement account, you cannot take assets out of that account before 59.5 without the 10% IRS penalty. However, if you retire from that company after the age of 55, or 55 or after, you can actually take distributions, as long as it's still in that 401k that you were previously employed by, you can take distributions out of there without having the 10% penalty. So before you go and move all that money out of your 401k to an IRA, it might make sense to even leave some of that money in that 401k if you're going to retire between 55 and 59.5. One of the pros to moving the money from your 401k to an IRA is that you will get out of those target date funds. The target date funds gives us a false sense of security that we're not going to be as risky as what we really are. The target date funds are supposed to change based on how close you are to retirement, and what they do is they'll weigh it a little bit more towards bonds instead of equities the closer you get to retirement, because bonds are supposed to be less volatile than the stocks. But what we found through 2008 is that a lot of those target date funds, even the 2010 target date funds, actually dropped well over 20, maybe 25, even 30%, which means you're 2 years away from retirement and you lost 30% of your portfolio, which can be significant. So the downfall to these 401ks is we might actually get a false sense of security if we're in those target date funds. And a lot of times what we see is this pro and con thing is that you might not be getting advice. And the advice might outweigh the difference after all. The advice will help you coordinate your retirement plan with what types of investments you should use within that retirement plan, but it also will help you get out of those things that you might be more risky in. And if you're overwhelmed by your own 401k or 403b or thrift savings plan, and all you do is just put in the target date fund thinking you're going to be safer than you really are, that could actually hurt you when we have a major market correction. So those are some different pros and different cons when it comes to moving your 401k. What I always recommend is make sure you meet with a fiduciary. Now that we all are fiduciaries anyway, you you want to make sure that you meet with a financial advisor that will give you the best advice when it comes to moving it, whether you're still working or not working, whether you're 55 through 59 and a half, whether you're going to have more fees or less fees, or if you're going to get that full advice that you should get when you're actually paying a fee for some of your investments. So I hope you're able to figure out whether or not you should move your 401k or not. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. And if you do want to come to one of our events, make sure you go to our events page, and we'll make sure to see you at our next event. Until then, I thank you for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you next time.